Okay, sir, let me start this program today. A very good morning to all. On behalf of VELAMMAL Institute of Technology, I would like to welcome all the participants for this AICT sponsored Sttp on assessment in engineering education, a pedagogical approach. Okay, then and this is the main objectives of the STTD program. Let me describe it here. Assessment is considered as the most important role in steering the learning process. However, we cannot confine to our one particular methodology as a best assessment method for a course. An assessment plan helps in selecting the right testing method and decides on the relative weight of each assessment for the final result of a course. This also helps to ensure that the assessment addresses the intern learning outcomes, which makes an assessment plan a helpful tool for examiners and an important instrument for quality assurance. An assessment matrix is designed to ensure that all the selected learning objectives are covered in the assessment, which helps to make certain that the assessment will both valid and reliable. This is done by using different methods to set the cutoff score by using rubric concepts. The participants will be put forward to apply quality criteria for the construction of assessment and assessment items to improve the quality of assessment and education, which have huge impact on the future education and careers of the students. So now let me going to read out the guidelines of our STTP program. So let me have a short information related to this. So participants are solicited to attend the session by using the Zoom app and log into the Zoom app using your registered mail ID, change your profile name ID, VIT, STTP with your ID number, which was mailed to you in Excel sheet earlier. Participants are requested to mute your microphone and camera during the sessions. Okay, all are needed to join in our WhatsApp group. So the link will be posted every day and you can able to join it very easily. Feedback and attendance in Google Forms will be posted at the end of every session after the QA section in the chat box only. Assessment in Google Forms will be of MCQ type or short answer type, etc. Submit the assessment through Google Forms only, which will be posted in WhatsApp group at the end of the day. Assessment forms must be submitted before next day.
Oh, can you hear me?
After which link will get disabled. If you have any query, please raise your hand in the Zoom app. Our session coordinator will assist you. Participants are requested to type all your questions in chat box, which will be answered by the expert at the end of the session. Participants are requested not to post any verbal cultures, example, good morning, good afternoon, on OK like this in chat box. All the recorded virtual sections will be available in your YouTube channel at the end of the respective slots. Any query regarding technical issue, inform through WhatsApp group. Now it's my privilege to highlight about today's session of our speaker's profile. Dr. G. Kalivarathan is a professor in mechanical engineering field and currently working in Addu School of Engineering Division of Addu City, Hithadhoo under Ministry of Education in Maldives. He had a total experience of 26 years of research, teaching and consulting experience with broad fields of thermal engineering related areas in which 3 years he worked in abroad also. Previously, he worked in FDRE, is nothing but Federal Democratic Republic of India, Ministry of Higher Education, Hithadhoo Government University in Ethiopia as an associate professor in mechanical engineering department. He was held up in various positions in academics such as faculty advisor, vice principal, principal, department secretary, sponsored research director, ISO internal auditor, management representation for accreditation, aptitude coordinator for placements, placement coordinator, exam coordinator, dean in research, and director in academics. His academic recognition includes that he was nominated as a board chairman for Anna University and Central Evaluations Chief Examiner and Chief Superintendent for conducting various Anna University examinations. Also, he organized and attended around 50 plus various technical programs such as short training train STTP programs, FDP and workshops under Anna University, IIT, NIT and IISc on mechanical engineering related areas and also published 3 textbooks for engineering students. His research and training programs is funded by various organizations such as CVRD in Chennai for his slip ring test assembly, then LNT, then FBZ, then HVAC for regarding refrigeration and air conditioning in Dubai, and last is TVS Limited Party in Chennai. Dr. G. Kalivarathan has received many awards such as IST National Award, Best Research Excellence Award, IAME Best Research Paper Award, NASA Online Contest Appreciation, Tamil Nadu Best Innovative Award from C2, then Certification of Indian Industries. He is a member in various professional bodies like Indian Society of Technical Education, Institute of Research in Engineering and Doctors, SAE, and also fellow member in International Association of Engineers. He has published 43 international journals under the preview of design, manufacturing, thermal, and CFD, optimization and simulation, including 6 Scopus Index journals. Also, he published 17 national conference and 18 international conference proceedings, including IIT, NIT, and IISc. He has done his doctoral research from DAV University, Punjab, in India during the year 2016 in the field of thermal engineering for CFD engine concepts. He obtained his master's degree from Karnia Institute of Technology, Coimbatore, and he is a gold medalist in postgraduate program in the field of thermal engineering and done bachelor's degree from Manoanmaniam Sundarat University. Last but not least, he is a review member of IJMET. He is a governing council member of our engineering college. He extensively traveled a lot for technical lectures with India and abroad, especially Ethiopia and Maldives countries. Such a eminent personality we are having with us today as a speaker, and I'm feel very happy to introduce him to our session, sir. Thank you so much for your acceptance, and let me hand over the session to you. Thank you, sir.
So very good morning to everyone. This is Dr. Kalivarathan,
Okay,
Ministry of Education, Maldives, belongs to Addu School of Engineering Division. I'm very happy to share some of my fruitful outcomes in terms of the professional learning under engineering stream. To start with, let me extend a sincere thanks to the organizers of VELAMMAL Institute of Technology and along with the ACT Delhi for organizing this engineering education-based quality improvement program as a faculty development program. Again, I am extending my sincere thanks to the principal of this institution, Addu School of Engineering Division, Minister of Education Maldives, Professor Ibrahim Nadim, and Head of the Department, Mr. Sania, for granting approval to deliver this faculty development program from my end. And again, I am extending my sincere thanks to one of my senior colleagues working in the same department, in applied department, applied mathematics and mechanics for a long time, Professor Lal Gangadharan from Kerala. He is working as a senior faculty here for a long time, and he has extended his full-hearted support for technical means to organize this program. So to start with, first of all, let me apologize for the technical difficulties happened in this forum. To start with, actually, as far as today's faculty development program is concerned, it needs some sort of background to start the actual scenario behind this topic. So the topic for today's faculty development program is something like effective implementation of professional learning of communities, collaboration and faculty empowerment over outcome-based education towards sustainable developments in quality of education for better assessment strategies amongst engineering domain. So the title appears to be slightly complicated than that of the previous scenarios what we have come across conventionally in different modes of qualities of education towards the attainment of sustainable education, sustainable development in education sectors. But if we look at the actual scenario behind the basic, so to start with, there are 3 important objectives: to initialize the boundary conditions for assessment in engineering education through better pedagogical approach by exploring their personal experiences and theoretical perspectives related to the basic affairs of the qualities. Previously. Deals. No, deals. Objectives. There are three important objectives. One is to initialize the boundary condition for assessment, and second one is to predict the influence of professional learning communities, collaboration and faculty empowerment over OBE, as well as to predict the quality of education in terms of better assessment strategies amongst the engineering domain. So there are three important basic objectives of this program. And if you look at the basic scenario behind the engineering pedagogy, again, there are three important features behind this platform. One is nurturing research and development oriented approach for innovation practices by exploring their personal experiences and theoretical perspectives. Most of the times, we are not able to have a successful scenario in terms of personal experience towards theoretical perspectives. Most of the times, we are deriving the expressions and we are not able to extend our wholehearted application of mind towards all the convergence of solutions based on their personal experiences also. So as far as engineering domain is concerned, most of the time it applies to even a very simple problem. Normally it appears to be an applied one, and we are going to come across the hurdles only through the competency matrix. So as far as any accreditation form of a particular country is concerned, we need to have a globalized view of personal experiences matching with the qualities of theoretical perspectives as well. That is what it is. We are going to have a look on the innovation practices under research and development oriented forums. And second one is identifying an opt theory. That is very much important. Opt theory and practice of learning, which is influenced by social, political, as well as psychological development of learners. So social, it refers to whenever we are going to have a successful manner in employability skills, normally people will be preferring the particular branch of engineering. Whereas if they are very much particular about it, it is sometimes it is also influenced by the political forums. There we can have a look on the what are the basic feasibility drawbacks in which we are not able to sustain the quality of education, because sometimes it will be disturbed because of the political, socio-economical forums as well. So again, psychological development of learners also one very important thing as far as any engineering domain is concerned, as soon as if they are choosing a particular branch of study. And the last one is describing an act of engineering teaching icons blended with superimposed methodologies through hybrid learning. So hybrid learning normally talks about the combination of any two important efforts, any two important methodologies of pedagogy. One is with respect to a particular knowledge as well as exposure in that branch of engineering, and the second one is the level of student of a learning community in which they are going to understand the basic features, including the basic advancements to up to some extent. Then the third level is how we are going to coordinate with a different group of people to attain the quality of, for example, if you take a particular core competency matrix of a person in a particular staff of a department. So for example, if 20 faculties are there, normally everyone should have an equal competency, but we cannot expect the sustainability oriented quality competency of mechanical engineering for all the 20 faculties. Some of them will be interested in production by their own qualification, and some of them may be specialized in design or thermal different domains of specialization as well. But the students communities are in a position to extract the best out of their qualities from each stream. But if you look at the employability features, which is directly related to the capability of teaching fraternity towards outcome-based education through assessing the assessment natures as well as methods. So that is what describing an act of engineering teaching icons blended with superimposed methodologies of hybrid learning is also mentioned. Again, if you look at the focus on actual engineering pedagogy, normally to start with, pedagogy is normally considered the method and practice of teaching irrespective of the branches of study, irrespective of the any professional program, whether it is art, science or engineering or architecture or law or professional course, any professional courses. But if you look at the basic definition of any education stream under a particular forum of grouping domain or clustering, it is considered as a process of receiving or giving systematic instruction incidentally. So how many of us are capable for giving systematic instruction? That is what we are not able to confine with the quality of education through a monitoring system as well as an opt method of devising a mechanism for ensuring the educational assessment as far as the engineering domain is concerned. So learning focused adaptive participation for acquiring problem solving skills as well as intellectual development with core competencies also plays a very important role as far as any actual engineering pedagogy is concerned, as a system, as a process, as well as a process also. So again, it proposal to the basic engineering graduate attributes listed for OBE. So it may differ for different educational streams under different professional courses. But accordingly, the caliber of professional learning community for a group coordination with better understanding of each other must be made so that the competency level of all the faculty members should be dragged by the attention of the students in all the levels so that their equipment, there is a possibility to ensure the level of attainment in all the stages towards outcome-based education, including everlasting ethics. So ethics also one of the very important things because students are also in a position to understand the capabilities of all the teaching fraternity towards the everlasting ethical issues also sometimes because basically engineering profession is only meant for creation and creating activities which aim to satisfy human needs through better understanding of both technical aspects and advancements as, through a particular structure of ethical issues also sometimes according to a particular case studies are concerned. Now let us have a look on what are the prerequisites required for this engineering domain assessment to solve technically designed problems of transforming the very feasible evaluation assessment mechanism towards enhancing the quality of education within the framework of OBE. Then there is a need to understand the differentiation between the user point of view and the delivery point of view. So there must be a coordination and proportional aspects between the learning point, user point of view from the learners, as far as learner is concerned, as far as the delivery point of view is concerned from the faculty point of view is concerned. So there must be an ability to accomplish social communicative processes in modern structures of production and process service. And there must be a focal point of engineering pedagogical consideration along with suitable assumptions too as far as accomplishing these communicative processes. Then there must be an arrived view of demand-oriented pedagogy. So why we need to have a demand-oriented pedagogy for engineering domain is there are three important reasons. One is always there must be a subjective approach, then there will be an objective approach, and there will be an integrative approach. So subjective approach basically deals with science, invention in science and research and development in science, which needs to be incorporated with the gap in the, we are also in a position to bridge the gap between the science and technology to engineering. So we must have a focus on engineering pedagogy in the development of the actual scenario preparation of future engineers for their leadership qualities and applicable roles in changing the structures of production as well as the basic service qualities we should have to maintain the decorum towards engineering domain. Again, we are also in a position to understand an object-related reasoning also to some extent because we are also in a position to have a mapping of different competency matrix levels according to the objectives derived, defined, as well as to be implemented with effective implementations also up to some extent for concerning the design of teaching learning process in academic engineering education, which is supposed to be influenced by the scientific character of related questions. Therefore, we need to have a proper understanding between the pedagogical as well as psychological qualifications, and it must be considered as fixed requirements for a teaching career at all the levels, including the higher education sectors. Now, to understand the basic pedagogical approach in engineering domain for assessment qualities, ensuring the assessment qualities, we need to compare two different scenarios with previous focus on assessment and present focus on assessment. So as far as previous focus on assessment is concerned, there is an assumption like everyone can learn and it focuses on high focus on teaching and isolation for integrity and discipline, and it must have an assessment of learning in some summative approach, and there must be a quality of selecting, sorting, and clustering the student, and failure is not considered as an option in terms of previous conventional focus of assessment irrespective of any domain is concerned. And more or less, as far as engineering domain is concerned, slightly the previous focus is deviated, but most of the times we can we may have come across our experience in assessment qualities in terms of under tier 1 stream, tier 2 stream, like the premier institutions and the self-financing institutions and the institutions standing in between, maintaining the autonomous status between OBE and other tier 1, tier 2 qualities also up to some extent. So the weightage of each such assessment may be, each stages of assessment may be different according to the mapping structures and quality of education is concerned and different assessing formalities in engineering domain for various branches. But the list, the icons that I have listed for previous focus on assessment is slightly different for engineering domain. But if you look at the present focus on engineering assessment, then there it is assumed that everyone is learned and everyone can learn, and it is high focus on learning. collaboration for sharing the knowledge, because teamwork is already integrated within the group. So normally this peer group of competent domain will take care of the collaboration with a high morale of integration and coordination. Therefore, the employability skill of a student can be integrated towards the better competency level of understanding through the competent qualities of all the engineering faculties in a particular department or a firm of an organization. Then again, if you look at the present focus, we need to have an understanding of assessment of learning under formative group through different structures of product, service, product oriented assessment and process oriented assessment. Up to some extent, it can be also extended for service also, according to the caliber of learning ability of a student. Then we should have an understanding of pyramid of intervention, because most of the time, as well as tier 1 institutions are concerned, all the structures are well defined. As well as tier 2 structures are concerned, it is only based on the infrastructure and the availability of faculty for that particular semester is concerned. So we need to have pyramid of intervention. As far as quality of education is concerned, there should not be any such intervention according to the quality of education is concerned under any teaching fraternity is concerned, even under tier 2 cases are concerned in Indian context. Whereas in a European context and other context, globally speaking, the level of attainment of quality of education is only one tier, and there may be plenty of private institutions, but all the institutions are supposed to follow the tier 1 qualities under top quality priority, and accreditation process remains common. So only based on the infrastructure in Indian context, we are also having some drawbacks, but it doesn't mean that, suppose if you look at the employability skills, the percentage of competency level in private engineering colleges are better than that of the government engineering colleges, because in private we have, even though we have, we are blessed with only the nominal as well as optimum quality of competency of infrastructure, but still we need to have high caliber faculty so that we are balancing the system. Whereas in the case of tier 1 qualities are more utmost quality, globally speaking, in terms of other European countries, there we are having best infrastructure, but the quality of competency and coordination level will be missing because of certain conflicts in terms of integration of the qualities of a products and process. So again, there is a failure. There is an assumption that failure is not considered as an option for present focus of assessment is concerned. Now, there is a mathematical level of understanding as far as professional learning community is concerned. As far as this entire presentation is concerned, the heart of the system presentation is only based on PLC collaboration and faculty empowerment. Faculty empowerment is also a very important thing, because most of the times faculties are not empowered what they are thinking in their mind to start with. So some of them will be systematically approaching the system from the basics. Some of them will be systematically approaching the system from the applied scenario. Some of them will be systematically approaching the subject by considering due weightage to both basics and applied, and some of them will be, most of the time we are in a position to think on the research and innovation practices also, but the students are in a position to understand the level of importance for 33.3% of all in the 3 domains, so that students can understand the entire knowledge and exposure and competency level of the quality of education in engineering domain. But most of the time, only in private colleges, up to some extent, we are able to achieve 70 to 78% in the level of importance, the engineering domain competency through PLC, professional learning communities, and collaboration, as well as the level of understanding through the faculty empowerment also up to some extent, but partly around 70 to 78%. But it's not even 10% in government forums as far as engineering domain is concerned. So that is what people are very much interested in employability skills and private institutions, because of the competency level of students and responsibility and accountability of competency level in of teaching fraternity. So again, if you look at the analytical form of professional learning communities, it has 4 different components. First one is strategical plan index. Second one is collaboration. What type of rate of collaboration? What is the frequency of collaboration? And what is the quality of collaboration? So that is very important. And just for the sake of coordinating or collaborating the basic competency level in the general forums, then it may not be adequate for a student to share the contribution level of competency. Then next component is focus on learning. How we are going to focus on learning point of view from the basics or applied or research, or by combining all these 3 things by through repetition of basics when we are delivering the competent level of advanced level of topics. And finally, what the type of results we are going to have. So if you sum up all these X, Y, Z, and Z, X1, we can get an optimal, because we cannot make sure that, because only based on a particular type of topic and nature of subject, we are going, if it's a theoretical subject, it's fine. If it is an analytical subject, the strategic plan and collaboration may not be applicable, but focus and results are workable because it is an analytic one. So we are going to segregate the theory, analytical and semi-theory and semi-analytical, and the combination of both the theory and analytical, design subjects and whatnot. So accordingly, the factors for X, Y, Z and X1 can be moderated so that we can get an optimum value of all these factors. So finally, the effectiveness of implementing the PLC is considered as a function of optimality level of X, Y, Z, X1, plus sometimes errors may also be there in all the four levels. We are going to have neglect if it is in the higher order, let us neglect it. If it is the lower level, we can have a continuous improvement trial for modifying the aspects. Then let us have a look on the vision of PLC towards high levels of learning for all the learners. There are two basic important assumptions, because educators normally believe that the learning communities are highly deserving. Yeah, yes, sir. Hello.
Kalivarathan sir.
Tell me.
கொஞ்சம் ஸ்பீட் கொஞ்சம் ஸ்லோ டவுன் பண்ணிக்கிற சொல்றாங்க.
ஓகே.
ஸ்பீட் கொஞ்சம் ஸ்லோ டவுன் பண்ண சொல்றாங்க சார். ஓகே.
சரி. ஓகே. Thank you. So there are two important assumptions as far as There are two important assumptions as far as PLC towards higher level of learning is concerned, especially in engineering. That is based on the learning community's responsibility and accountability and level of understanding towards their career. That is always missing because their performances, they are all from different levels of performance. So educators normally, the teaching community normally believes that all the learning communities are capable of high levels of learning, irrespective of their domain knowledge and exposure. That is a basic assumption. But as far as Tier 1 institutions are concerned, in Indian context, this is not considered, because may not be applicable, because the learning community is seen in the higher stream level. So for Tier 2, it may be a problem in the Indian context, whereas in other countries, it may not be a problem for adequate structures and infrastructure, as well as the maintaining the quality of the student for admitting the particular group of students learning as a learning community in an institution. Then educators also assume that the responsibility for learners achieving the high levels. Then if we look at the philosophy of engineering assessment under teaching point of view, there are some few weightages. One is scientific exploration. How far we are going to, as a teaching fraternity, through a competent level of teaching learning process, how we are going to scientifically explore the basic concept under engineering domain to bridge a gap between the already defined scientific under science group and technological oriented applied group. We are standing in between science and technology. So this bridging the gap between science and technology through engineering under scientific exploration, basically it has 20%. Then the next level is analytical analysis. So there we need to have mathematical modeling, and up to some extent we can have the basic simulation offers also in the design level. So we can have analytical 20% weightage is also applicable for analytical analysis. Then technological implications, to incorporate the technological implications, we should have 20% weightage. And to assess any engineering quality, finally we should have the simulation offers also by understanding the proper boundary conditions of a particular problem, and it has the weightage of 20%. Then finally, newer approaches as well as innovative approaches as a value-added forum, normally it weighs about somewhere around 20%. So if you add all these things, you can get a completeness of engineering quality of assessing quality of a teaching fraternity. But at the same time, we must have a caliber assessment of mapping towards the sensitive factors for understanding level from the learning community. So we should have some 5 to 8% of deviation between the level of understanding and the scientific exploration based on the basic literature survey under educational sectors over a period of for the past 10 years. Under science group, the variation is between 5 to 8%. For engineering domain, the variation is between 2 to 5%, and for technological domain, the variation is between 1 to 2%. So that means the level of understanding under science group is somewhat lagging, and level of understanding the engineering group is normally it is deviated slightly from the level of teaching level of delivery and the understanding level of learning community. As far as technology is concerned, absolutely there is no problem, because they are so specific, so focused, and so deliverable, and so understandable also, and so observable in their nature as far as the student community, learning community is concerned. So whatever is this listed here as weightage for scientific exploration for 20% and analytical for 20%, then technological implementations for 20%, simulation of forums for 20%, and newer approaches as well as innovative approaches 20% as a validated program, it holds good for technological. So now again, it is based on the basic, some of the basic efforts of deviation aspects from the problem solving capabilities, analytical thinking skills, innovation type of innovation practices, then level of maintaining the professional ethics and domain importance, then executing attributes, integrating features, implicit and explicit aspects, then modular relevancy based approach. So as far as implicit and explicit aspects are concerned, it talks about implicit models of educational system. It talks about national level of accreditation towards engineering domain assessing quality. Explicit refers to the global level, but normally we should have a compromise between the proportional index between these two, so that we can integrate step-by-step manner with a systematic approach of attaining the index for quality of education as a sustainable development amongst the engineering domain for assessing the quality of any engineering community. So again, the last one is modular relevancy based approach. Modular relevancy based approach, it talks about whenever you are going to set the system as a standard or a process or a service for a quality of education, there must be a moderation always according to the different nature of subjects are concerned. Otherwise, without fixing a standard for modular relevancy based approach, it is highly impossible to maintain the sustainable quality of the system. So again, if you look at the assessment-oriented components of PLC as a continuous improvement process, formatively speaking, we have different components under four clusters with equal weightage of 25%. Assessment on strategic plan. So planning must be an optimum one under strategic execution. So assessment on strategic plan 25%, assessment on focused planning 25%, then assessment of collaborative views 25%, then assessment of validation, including the comments and inferences after better understanding of both nature, technical aspects, as well as advancements for a particular chapter of a stream of an engineering subject is concerned towards the exact result-oriented convergency. So all these components are having 25% weightage. For example, whenever we are setting the standard for delivery, setting the question papers as well as the assessment forums in terms of written exam or oral exam or any unexpected cross-checking the quality of system under different quality forums, we need to understand the importance of all these four components. Whether our delivery it covers a strategic plan, whether our delivery is focused on a particular learning quality or learning skill of a student, as well as the understanding ability of a student. Then again, that the particular delivery of engineering domain faculty has incorporated or integrated with the collaborative efforts with coordination of different competency level of faculties in a particular department of an organization, or whether we need to have a cross-check on validation as comments and inferences also up to some extent. So if we are able to maintain all these few weightages under strategic plan, focused learning, collaborative views, and validation, then we must have a successful assessment-oriented component of PLC. Then if we can have a look on PLC team structures of assessment. What are the teams are required under PLC with equal weightage and equal importance and equal contribution also according to their accountability and responsibility to sustain the quality of education in the engineering domain. So performance index, there must be a performance index grade level assessing team. So according to the nature of subject, toughness of the subject, level of understanding of student, and caliber of the competency matrix level to map the contents of the objective levels of various curriculum of the subject is concerned, we must have a performance index and grade level team, grading level assessing team for each and every subject of that particular program is concerned as a cumulative core team of PLC. Then second one is core designing and module weightage team. Then vertical assessing team for depth of engineering knowledge and competencies, as well as exposure in that particular domain of engineering is concerned towards assessing quality. Then interdisciplinary team, we need to have some of the subjects related to interdisciplinary aspects also. For example, if we take under the purview of mechanical engineering, core engineering branches, we need to have look on robotics, then hydraulics, then avionics, then whatever is related. So we should have equal weightage for all those interdisciplinary aspects also. So normally there must be a equal weightage view of understanding, learning, as well as teaching deliverables in terms of basic level 30%, then core level 33%, and interdisciplinary level under 33.3%. If it is so, irrespective of the grading system and course designing team, we can have a successful assessing team also. Normally, we are failed in assessing the quality of the students because of the ability, competency level of faculty who is going to evaluate the system or design the system, or the competency level of understanding under teaching, the learning community as far as students are concerned. So interdisciplinary as a team with articulating the curriculum. Designing curriculum can be done by anyone, but articulating the curriculum with respect to employability structures and level of attainment of the mapping the aspects, it refers to the interdisciplinary team, quality of an interdisciplinary team with articulating with the curriculum ornaments. What are the curriculum ornaments required for articulating the basic structure of any quality of the system must be made under engineering domain is concerned. Then regional teams with equal weightage for confidential assignments concerning all the levels of teaching community. So confidential assignments are one of the very important things as far as centralized systems are concerned. Whereas for decentralized system under autonomous or tier 2 is concerned, we must be cautious enough to have the levels of teaching community also who are related with the particular confidentiality team. The next, we are going to have a look on assessment ideas. What are the assessment ideas of PLC-based learning? There must be a fundamental purpose for useful learning with effectiveness. And there must be a cultivating collaborative culture through competent, high-performing teams by using competency matrix for faculty community. So as far as faculty community is concerned, the percentage of cultivating the collaborative culture is 50%, theoretically speaking. But actually, as far as autonomous institutions are concerned, it can be extended up to 75% also, because the system is academic system, the governing council board or the academic council is already defined in such a way that it should take care of the competency levels according to the sustainable level of the competency level of understanding the basic effects of engineering domain. So again, when it comes to the engineering assessment quality, normally the cultivating collaborative culture must be maintained 70 to 75% as far as the literature surveys are concerned, so far in Indian context. But in global level, it is exceeding 90 to 95%. But if you look at the collaborative culture for research-oriented institutions, like the national importance or in Indian context, IITs and IIScs, NITs, there the collaborative culture appears to be 100%, but actually it is 10% because it is only based on the faculty-based competency level, and it is not based on the department level collaborative structures. So normally, when we are talking about the specific collaborative culture of a particular faculty, it talks about the competency matrix level of a particular faculty is concerned in a department or an organization as a whole. If it is a research-related, national importance-related organization, or if it globally speaking, normally all the ABET-oriented high-quality institutions are embedded with the different tie-ups with foreign universities and other universities amongst various countries, as well as the bilateral affiliations also through joint ventures. So this is a memorandum of understanding. MOE is one of the core things. Then Indian context, we can go ahead with collaborative culture, but still it is not sufficient to cope up with the standards internationally speaking or the global level accreditation process are concerned. So in Indian context, we are very much particular about the NAC accreditation for institution level and NBA for program specific level. For taking care of these aspects in national level importance is concerned in terms of engineering domain under the Indian context, it's okay, but still we need to have better understanding of other collaborative cultures also. It has to be cultivated to be translating with the international exposures. Then the next level is assessment of effectiveness on the basis of results rather than intentions and analysis, outcomes and strategies. So rather than the basic intentions in which you are going to have an assessment, rather than the analysis in which you are going to make, rather than the outcomes as well as the strategies in which we are going to have the effectiveness over the assessment, there must be a proportional thing to be done as far as the streamlining the assessment ideas of PLC. Now, there is a subdomain is one of the very important as well as interesting topic. How far the subdomain assessment in engineering is So internationally, it is proved that it's a very simple equation. It, in Indian context, it is fluctuating like a graph, sine, cos, and tan. Sometimes it may be looking like a hyperbolic also for the hybrid lining structure is concerned. But we are in a position to understand the basic governing equation for the subdomain assessment in any engineering domain, irrespective of the branches of engineering is concerned, whether it's a software-oriented circuit branch or the core branch, it doesn't matter. But the basic governing equation for effective implementation of engineering domain assessment is something like the straight line equation y is equal to mx plus c, where y stands for quantum of achieving the adequate result. That is very, very important for tier 2. And where m is a slope, that is nothing but the ratio between the change in learning and change in result divided by dx. So this concept, this slope, it as a gradient, it plays a very important role for assessing the quality of teaching fraternity, whether we need to have a compromise, equal weightage between, whether we are giving due weightage between the level of understanding and level of achieving the results. So it's very important, but it's very difficult to maintain this straight line as an inclined one. Therefore, we need to have a look on this graph very sensitively. And if we are successful, if we are able to draw a line at least in 30 degrees, it's fine. And if it is less than 45, then we must have some sort of seriousness in this graph as a subdomain assessment. Then there may, if it is more than 60 or 70, there also we need to have a look on the level of understanding, because most of the times we are looking for the grants from the affiliating UGC forum or the universities or and whatnot. But at the same time, we are also in a position to make sure that the level of students in UG and PG and the higher level, the research scholar level are able to attain or understand, or they are able to drag the similar, the adequate quality of learning also. So it's ultimately it's a responsibility goes to the teaching fraternity for delivering the proportional aspects of the basic competency level of engineering delivery, so that they are able to make a compromise between the percentage of results converging towards the attainment of competency as well as the level of understanding of students. The next is collaboration-based assessment. It has two important assumptions. One is adopting an opt collaborative culture, which is considered as most significant factor for successful improvement regarding any engineering assessment through well-defined initiatives. So initiative must be made predefined, and it should have adaptability to index or introduce an opt culture of collaborative fixed platform, so that it is possible to improve the assessment qualities of engineering domain. Then the second assumption is we are going to maintain the degree of effectiveness towards assessment in engineering aspects for implementing the effectiveness index. So in all, finally at the end of this presentation, we are going to have a look on different types of indexes that we are going to introduce for maintaining the effective implementation. Is totally different from effective implementation. If you are trying to implement the system, always there may be an execution difficulty. Whereas if you are effectively implementing the system, up to some extent, we can make sure that it is already in line, streamlined with different decorum level of understanding of both teaching as well as learning communities, irrespective of the toughness of engineering domain is concerned under different forums. So effectiveness of the index, it plays a very important role as far as any engineering assessment is concerned. Then if you look at the basic focus, why we need to focus on what way we are going to focus on the PLC assessment. So there must be a commitment for working together to obtain collective competency. This is what we are lagging always in Indian context. Whereas in other level of context in terms of other countries, this commitment level is already well defined in papers and semi-practiced in practical affairs. And almost the quality of the student will be ensured up to 70 to 75% through an excellent coordination system, irrespective of the conflicts and domain competency levels, because of the ensuring the coordination level. Of course, there are some drawbacks in this commitment level, but still, if it is predefined, it is better to have a look on these efforts in Indian context through weekly or monthly or semester-wise recorded coordination. At least once in a semester, if there is a coordination between the collaborative structures of competency matrix level of individual faculty, and it must be documented and ensured for a part of driving the mechanism over the deliverable things, so that the students may be in a position to understand the level of understanding. Then inducting or introducing a collaborative culture through viable as well as feasible development of high performing teams with actual definite strategy for effective implementation. Then what are the, let us see, what are the icons of collaborative assessment? It is something like a crown of a quality of a system. One is devising the mechanism for systematic process of engineering assessment. So we should have already devised the mechanisms for systematic process of engineering assessment, where systematic process of attainment, level of attainment will be slightly different according to the nature of toughness of the subject is concerned and the engineering domain. Since purely depends on the competency level and level of both teaching fraternity as well as the competency level of mapping the systems also, sometimes according to the toughness of the curriculum. So again, what type of coordination that we are level of difficulties that we are facing in between bridging the gap between the affiliating university and the affiliating body. Affiliating body, approving body is CGC, for example, in terms of Indian context, and the affiliating body is university. So normally we are struggling in between the competency level of or the conflicts, or sometimes the conflicts also between the EGC and the affiliating university. And again, if you look at the university level, so affiliating university level of competency level in implementing the effectiveness of quality of system under engineering domain for both circuit and non-circuit branches, both branches are concerned. In Indian context, there's always a wide gap between because of the laggingness in driving the mechanisms to introducing a better strategy of implementing the systematic process. So in the approving body, there must be a coordination between the approving body in Indian context, like UGC, and there must be a coordination between the ACT level also according to the competency level of delivery is concerned at least. So most of the times we are so theoretical and less practical, whereas if there is a coordination between the approving body like UGC in Indian context and affiliating body and so on, whatnot, there must be a concrete level of understanding of competency required for maintaining the sustainable development in terms of employability and adequate skills for both teaching community and planning community as well as far as students are concerned. So this is one of the very important thing icon, devising mechanism for systematic process of engineering assessment. And next one is ensuring interdependency to analyze as well as impacting high professional practice in order to enhance individual and collective results also, which is theoretically at least proved by 2002 itself, but still we are lagging in this icon. Then what are the reasons? Let us look at more gaining options in achievement of students, then solutions for high quality problems as well as sensitive subjects, then maintaining high level of confidence among the teaching community. Once initially it may appears to be a different or odd thing for any faculty under any engineering domain, but if it is in real practice, if when they started practicing it, automatically they will feel motivated, and there may be a high level of confidence attainment amongst the teaching community as far as engineering assessments are concerned. So naturally, they will fall into a system unknowingly or knowingly by understanding the concept with full confidence. So that is what high level of confidence amongst teaching community. Hello, the teaching communities are able to support one another's strength as well as accommodating the weakness also. So this is also one of the very important core things to be understood. Then ability to test or check the new ideas. Then more support for more new faculty community. So there must be a coordination between new faculty community as well as the existing faculty community in tier 2 for a long time as well as short time. In tier 1, it's not a problem, but things are more adequate. So more support for new faculty community must be made in Indian context. Then extended as well as exhaustive pool of ideas, materials, and methods. So there must be an extended exhaustive pool of ideas, materials, as well as methods as far as any engineering domains are concerned. Now let us see the different mode of engineering assessment as a trust how far we are going to trust this as a engineering assessment under a real mode operation or execution. So by shared understanding leading to a partial competency. So this is what. So as far as one of the major weakness of any engineering domain is concerned, as far as any particular domain engineering branch is concerned, domains are different. So when we are completing the post-graduation in the PG level, we need to have some domain importance as a competency level. Whereas as soon as we are any graduate, engineering graduate is graduating after completing undergraduation, BE or BTech, they are able to understand, for BSc engineering, they are able to understand the basic efforts in that group, in that branch of engineering domain, whereas slightly they are going to deviate from the actual interest up to 75% in as a partial competency in the post-graduation. And only if they are completing their research work, they are able to attain the competency level. But even after completing the research level degrees like PhD and DPhil, but we need to have better understanding of real-time practices of competency level through only by attaining the postdoctoral fellow or any type of fellowship offered in that particular domain of interest as well as engineering assessment concept. So the first assumption is by shared understanding, we are going to lead partial competency as a system and process. So this is exercised through two important components. One is by the entire faculty, both staff as well as the individuals within the faculty community are reliable, and they can be counted on to do what they say and what they will do. So there is a gap between what they say and what they will do. In tier 1, it is 50%, there is a gap. And in tier 2, 25%, normally theoretically it is proved that there will be a gap of 25% of the faculty fraternity for deliverable to maintain the competency level, even as a partial competency level also between what they say and what they will do. So between the gap between bridging the gap between what they say and what they will do will be monitored and ensured by a healthy monitoring system with a continuous improvement process. The next assumption is developing consistent systematic procedures that ensures each student may receive the support that they need to succeed analytically as well as technically. So that is what we are going to have a look on the system, both technically and analytically.
Kalivarathan sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Kalivarathan sir. உங்க ஃபேஸ் தெரியல ஆக்சுவலா ஃபேன் மட்டும் தான் தெரியுது கொஞ்சம் அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணி ஓகே இப்போ ஓகே சார் இப்போ ஓகே சார் thank you sir sorry
okay, no problem. Then the next one is responsibility over engineering assessment. So if you look at the responsibility over the entire engineering domain irrespective of the saturation in a particular field of engineering, frankly speaking, this is one of the very important slides to understand the consequences of responsibility over engineering assessment, because the basic reason is we are already not successful in maintaining the depth of knowledge in that particular forum is concerned due to many constraints like lack of admission, lack of results, and lack of coordination between the process and systems and deliverable and whatnot, and again unexpected disturbances amongst the natural calamities and whatnot. Now, whatever it may be the changes, whatever it may be the natural disturbances, whatever it may be the hurdles in which we are going to maintain the competency level of deliverability of both teaching as well as the learning community also for understanding, we should have some concrete responsibility over engineering assessment, either through online or offline. But at the same time, we are also going to have a quantitative data for comforting everyone else, those who are learning, what they know it at least from their level of understanding. So the best administrative factors, this is very important, the best administrative factors concerning the engineering assessment of an educational organization place where everyone has a permission to do with empowerment for better attainment, with then accountability and responsibility to gather or group or cluster as well as to induct to introduce the system by acting on quantitative data for comforting everyone else in terms of learning community, what they know it actually. So seems to be a complicated statement, but at the same time, this statement talks about the overall responsibility of the administrative factors in the department level, administrative factors in the institution level, administrative factors in the curriculum level of university, affiliating university, and the approving level, competency level. By understanding the difficulties of both formal and non-formal organization, basic planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the affairs of all the curriculum governing council systems to implement an effective engineering domain assessment. So administrative factors concerning engineering assessment of all the educational organization places where everyone has a permission, or better yet, the ability to gather as well as acting on the quantitative data for comforting everyone else learn what they know it. So this is what we are going to, if we are successful in maintaining the qualities of this statement, obviously our responsibility under administrative factors will be successful, because the deliverable fraternity, the teaching fraternity and learning fraternity are handicapped in this statement. It talks about this particular statement talks about only the administrative factors. The next one is the learning-based assessment. If you look at the learning-based assessment nature between the engineering domain and technological domain, three important ideologies are there to be distinguished. Examining as well as practicing competence strategy over OBE in light of their impact on learning. So examining plus practicing, equal weightages are given normally, but this percentage, 50% of examining and 50% of practicing, will be different for different domains under different types of evaluation under engineering domain in Indian context. But at the same time, generally there is an assumption that this percentage may vary 40-60 or 30-70 or 70-30 and whatnot according to the different levels of attainment. But if we need to, normally it is better to keep 50% of weightage for examining and 50% of weightage for practicing. So under examining, we can, it's maybe we can consider all these examination factors under only written or sometimes through cross-checking their ability also under different scenarios. But still for practicing, we need to have a definite strategy towards well-defined or predefined strategies for practicing the students as an internal practice with equal importance, sensitive importance too. So that the students may understand the importance of the subject exposure and adequate employability skills also to be acquired as far as the practicing of its are concerned. So again, for Tier 1 and Tier 2 in Indian context, this percentage is varying. Whereas in global level accreditation process, this percentage appears to be 40% for examining and 60% for practicing. And for the semi-government organizations like research forums and other national importance universities, according to their caliber of infrastructure and competency levels of employability skills, this percentage may be vary. But in between, it is better to, it is safer side, the safer side, it is better to keep examining 50% weightage with practicing of 50% weightage. That is better. So in general, we can assume that under Indian context, we can assume that learning process is considered as a combination mode of examining and practicing alone, irrespective of the branches of concern. Then there must be a focus on Indian focus OBE. So this is a normal view under assessment point of view. To actually reform, there are two basic objectives under assessment point of view is concerned. To actually reform the Indian education system, it needs to have a long understanding assumption that the central activity of education is teaching, as well as reorientating all policy making and activities around a new benchmark as student learning capability. So this first point under assessment point of view is already we have discussed partially as a statement of responsibility, and it talks about the impact of that statement under two different purviews. So actually we are going to reform the Indian education system. It needs to have a long standing assumption that central activity of education is teaching, as well as reorientating all the policy making and activities under approving body as around a new benchmark in affiliating body as a student learning capability for better understanding. Then again, the second one is to ensure the levels of high learning strategy for all such learning communities existing in the present scenario amongst undergraduate, postgraduate, and research level as well. So under again, if you look at the domain group for any analysis for interpretation, The sampling size for UG level is normally comparatively more than that of PG, and it is in PG level it is comparatively lesser, and the research group appears to be more, and compared to the strength of UG and PG, normally it appears to be very small thing. But at the same time, we need to have equal weightage for all the three domains so that we can understand the levels of high level. Normally, any engineering domain is concerned, it appears to be. Basically, it is mandatory to assume that it's a high level of learning to acquire the adequate competency level through better implementation of or the effective implementation of engineering assessment systems. So to ensure the levels of high learning strategy for all such learning communities existing in the present scenario amongst undergraduate, postgraduate, and research level as well. Then if you look at the learning fact, what are the facts related to the learning fraternity or learning communities considered under the students' domains are concerned? There are three important assumptions to clarify what each student is expected to learn in the basic level. So most of them will be lagging in basics because of the different scenarios, maybe. So level of understanding, deliverable and whatnot, competency level, level of approving and coordination between the approving body, affiliating body, then the sustaining body of a department and whatnot. So to clarify what each student is expected to learn the basic level, that is an assumption. To monitor each student's learning on a timely basis. Most of the students are making hurry preparation only in the last minute, 11th hour preparation, so they may not understand the importance of the exposure as well as the knowledge, whereas the people, those who are really interested from the beginning, they can acquire the actual exposure. So the teaching faculty should have an ability as well as accountability and responsibility over the dragging the attentions of students from the beginning through different strategies by cross-checking their ability through a well-defined, well-informed, well-transparent, sensitive strategic plan in the beginning itself. So to monitor each student's learning on a timely basis, then to create systems for ensuring students gain in terms of additional time as well as support if it is not learned in time. So to create systems for ensuring the student how far they are gaining in terms of additional time as well as support. This is normally existing in Tier 2 self-financing institutions, whether it is autonomous or affiliating institutions, but still normally we are giving more weightage in terms of additional time, special classes, special attention, special focusing, counseling and whatnot, to create the systems for ensuring the students gaining in terms of additional time as well as support if it is not learned in time. So if it is not learned in time, it talks about the quality of a student and caliber of a faculty also up to some extent. Suppose if the caliber of the faculty is adequate, if their competency level of deliverability is okay, then automatically students can understand. Suppose if there is any lagging, obviously students may suffer. So we should have watch the caliber of both from the student as well as teaching community also. So to create systems for ensuring students gain in terms of additional time as well as support if it is not learned in time. Then let us have a look on assessment-based learning target. What are the targets of PLC? So when students know what they are learning, their performance on average has been shown to be 27% in the points level, higher than the students who do not know what they are learning. So when students know what they are learning, it is only seen in the average level, and it is shown to be less than 30% only, somewhere around 25%, theoretically speaking, as far as the literatures are concerned in educational sectors and engineering domain, but higher than the students who do not know what they are learning. So we should have a look on this statement. Then enhancing student learning as well as directing instructional strategies. So instructional strategies has to be enhanced up to some extent as far as the level of understanding is concerned. Then under engineering PLC, what are the levels of today's assessment purview? So reading the chapters extensively, deriving the equations, analytics or data, say under data science for that particular analysis is concerned, then corollaries and correlations also. Then solving the problems with complex functions, then facing the exercises, critical problems and assignments as a critical success factor under complicated analysis, then validating the inferences, comments and consolidated predictions through validation, optimal validation. So most of the times when we are going to validate the system, normally we are going to have a deviation between the attainability and the originality. So if there is a proportion between attainability and originality under ideal and actual conditions, there must be a validation index. And this validation index must be proportional to the inferences and comments that we are going to make it theoretically for converging the solutions amicably for any feasible engineering problems are concerned for better implementation of any assessment process to a predefined definite strategical planning for execution. Then working on peripheral boundary of the subjects with deep insights. So normally insights are inborn and embedded with the systems of peripheral boundary of any engineering subjects are concerned. Again, we need to understand the toughness of the subject. For example, if you take mechanical engineering, we have basic analytical subjects as strength of materials and fluid mechanics and some basic analytical subjects. But the insights are already embedded. But how far we are going to implement the system analytically, it matters a lot. Most of the times you are not able to track the systems under dimension analysis because we are lagging in scientific basements. So unless otherwise, the peripheral boundary of science, peripheral boundary of engineering, peripheral boundary of specific boundary of technology is ensured. The level of as far as the level of understanding as well as to the level of delivery, it is very difficult to have a deep insight of all the subjects that has to be tailor-made for streamlining the systems. So working on peripheral boundary of the subjects with the deep insights are also considered. Then streamline the philosophical paradigm of knowledge group. What are we have seen all the philosophical background of the PLC under engineering domain for assessing the system. But if you look at the knowledge-based expert systems, by using knowledge group and knowledge-based expert systems for a particular application, normally it is applicable to the mandatory tool of a technology forum. But to some extent, we can use the same forum for, we can extend the same integral forum for engineering philosophical paradigm also through second order partial differential equations under canonical form. So all the parametric studies that we are going to have an optimistic solutions, the type of solutions may be different for different types of equations under second order partial differential equations through parametric studies. But if you look at the Laplace equations and wave equations, normally it defines all the deviations amongst the engineering domain, irrespective of the branches of engineering, whether it is electronic and communication or civil engineering or structures, structural engineering or mechanical engineering or design engineering under finite element analysis and simulation software or finite element analysis for any other circuit branches are also concerned under different modern technologies like VLSI, very large scale integration, embedded systems and whatnot, including the digital image processing, cloud computing and other computational facilities also. But streamlining the philosophical paradigm of knowledge group, it talks about the basic assessment technologies. Then let us see some of the required demonstration for learning goals. So what are the demonstration learning goals required under PLC? To understand the technique of foreshadowing the mysteries of essential as well as advanced curriculum. So what are the consequences of essential curriculum and what are the consequences of impact of advanced curriculum? What are the bridges to be crossed in between? And what are the levels of attainment in between? And how we are going to bridge the gap between the different levels of voice between the teaching community and learning community under the different levels of attainment of curriculum design. So the curriculum has to be designed in such a way that we should have a bridging ability for understanding the this basic scenario of philosophical paradigm in terms of the gap required, existing gaps to understand the demonstrating learning qualities. So to revise writing impact for improving usage of descriptive adverbs. So most of the times the engineering is nothing but what we are writing and what we are learning, and most of the times it is missing. So whenever we are extensively reading, but as far as any engineering domain assessment is concerned, we are not writing. We are not good in writing, but we are very good in reading. But most of the times, all the engineering, analytical design and analysis skills required for analysis should be made in written, should be made in demonstration, should be made in descriptive. So there must be a wide gap between the writing skills and understanding skills. So we must have a gap analysis in between the revision of bridging the gap between the writing impact for improving the usage of descriptive adverbs as usual. So again, let's have a look on the assessment-based learning expectation. What are the learning expectations under PLC domain? Specific, that is considered as more, 20%. Then measurable, actually it is existing, 20%. And real attainable, it has 20% weightage under the assessment-based learning expectations. Then actually the result-oriented is 20%. And ideally speaking, the time-bound has it has a weightage of 20%. So specific 20%, measurable 20%, attainable 20%, then results-oriented qualities 20%, and time-bound expectations are 20% under assessment. Any engineering domain assessments are concerned under PLC. Normally, it is very easy to focus on specific 20, measurable 20, percentage, attainable 20. Whereas it is very difficult to have an attainability towards result-oriented 20% and time-bound 20%. That is only the result-oriented 20% actual weightage, and ideal time-bound 20% weightage is only based on the coordination between the approving body and the affiliating body. So, but still we need to have a comprehensive strategical system through indirect implementation in Tier 2 private colleges, so that we can, according to our deliverable competency level, we can have a balanced, systematic, dynamic approach to bridge the gap between result-oriented 20 and time-bound 20, irrespective of the coordination between the actual deviation between the approving body and affiliating body. So if you look at the assessment-based learning expectations, the things are, there are some of the things are more in nature and actual, real, ideal, and actual. Then grade level course expectations for engineering point of view. So it is intended usage of, it talks about intended usage of teaching community. So it intended curriculum with feasible in integral approach, then providing direction to faculty in relation to the intended as well as enacted curriculum eventually. And there must be a query always as far as grade level course expectations are concerned under PLC. So it talks about what do we want all students to know or able to do. So what we want all students to know and are able to do, as well as what about the explorations of it concerning feasibility. So it appears to be a very simple query, but it talks about the impact and the implications of critical success factors towards the responsibility statement that we have already made it in the previous slide. So what we want the students to know, are able to do the structures as far as learning community is concerned, and what about the explorations of it concerning the feasibility. Now, if you look at any engineering domain, engineering assessment, these are the practical icons for clustering the competency level of any engineering domain under assessment. Basic and conceptual 30%, scientific predictions carries 10%, dynamic dimensional analysis it carries 5%, then derived quantities it carries 5% weightage. For engineering design and analysis 10%, applied philosophy 10%, newer design and tools for analysis 10%, then research orientation as well as innovation based it carries 10%. So if you look at if you're able to succeed in all these weightages from the basic level to the research level, you can attain 100%. That is highly impossible, but at the same time, in what are the areas in which you need to have a look on certain weightages, more weightages like basic and conceptual, and almost all are the except the basic, all the remaining competency icons are having equal weightage. But if you look at the dimension analysis and derived quantities, only it is applicable to the analytical subjects. For other theoretical and other descriptive type of structures in engineering domain, including the computer, the software-oriented circuit branches, we can have a look on the other icons also. So if a particular organization in the department is able to maintain a sustainable weightage level of all these components, definitely we can get a remarkable sustainable development in maintaining the quality of education, to have a compromise between better excellency towards the level of learning and as well as level of delivery of faculty. Then next one is the engineering assessment ethics related trust. The shared assessment understanding by the complete evaluators of both internal and external faculty within team members nominated for professional learning community are mostly feasible. This is employable, already employed indirectly through governing council and curriculum designing body through internal and external faculty with the team members nominated, only theoretical. But when you put it in practice, that we may face some difficulty. That is embedded with articulation factors of graduate attributes, irrespective of actual implementation of rubrics. So rubrics, it played a very important role as an icon, shadow of what we are going to implement it with a predefined strategy, as well as to up to some extent, we are also in a position to make sure that the functional liabilities are also embedded. So this is an ethics-oriented trust that we are making it normally as far as engineering assessment are concerned. But most of the times we are lacking in this. Not even 15% it is getting ensured in Tier 2 organizations are concerned. Result-oriented aspects are concerned, it is okay in Tier 2 up to some extent, whereas as well as practical implementation of real subject knowledge and exposure in terms of employability aspects and cutting edge introduction of cutting edge knowledge and skills of understanding. Naturally, it is we are lagging in Tier 2 affiliating institutions. So probably we need to have a look on this statement, especially this statement is quite favorable for nominating the representations of the Tier 2 accreditation, Tier 2 quality of education in Indian context. So the shared assessment understanding with a complete evaluators of both internal and external faculty within team members nominated for professional learning community are mostly feasible. Parallelly, it is embedded with articulation of ornamental factors of graduate attributes, irrespective of actual implementation of rubrics, well-defined as well as predefined rubrics to some extent of its functional liabilities. Then responsibility-based evaluator. What are the responsibilities of the evaluators under PLC? The best practices are systems which concerns everyone has authentication. This is maintained only, this is applicable only through a definite ethics-oriented moral competency level of accountability. So everyone should have an authentication through empowerment, as well as betterment with the responsibility to gather, as well as acting on the quantitative data for assisting everyone else learn what they are aware of. So whatever they are aware of in the evaluator side, suppose if the evaluator is lagging in understanding the applied concepts of a particular engineering domain or a designer of problems to be evaluated, then there must be a coordination confidentiality team to understand, to address, to represent the toughness of the evaluation scheme through a definite scheme or key points or a healthy evaluating system through moderation also at last according to the caliber of the performance of students at last, if it is feasible to maintain the quality of education irrespective of making compromise. Understand level it has to be remembered always that irrespective of the level of no compromise in diluting the basic level of understanding through actual competency in that subject. So whatever we can make understand, we can do it through moderation, but without compromising the level of basic level of understanding the subject exposure as a real subject fundamentals to understand the subject. Then smart targets oriented evaluation systems are influencing outcome-based education normally. There must be a smart target-oriented evaluation system. Smart target-oriented evaluation system normally talks about the applied features that we have already come across the previous slide for the weightage for different icons, including the dimensional weightage and the deliverable or derived quantities weightage that we have already assigned. Then critical assessment questions. Let us see some of the very important slide to have a look on engineering assessment domain. What are the critical assessment questions that we are facing it normally by bridging the gap between or to ensure the quality of education between the competency level of faculty fraternity as a teaching community under PLC and level of understanding under learning community for students. The first one is how to cluster the fundamental aspects of subject point of view with applied relevancy. It plays a very important role. It carries 25% weightage. How to group or cluster the fundamental aspects of subject point of view with applied relevancy. This is what the role of an engineering, the engineering faculty, it plays a very important role. So whenever we are going to introduce the system through basics and slightly we are going to derive the expressions, then we are going to make a comments and validation or inferences. Then we are going to apply those concepts through validation. Then we are going to design the problem. After that, we are going to analyze it. So if such practices are practiced amongst the engineering mind of the young budding engineering minds, then it is very easy to cope up the standards of the levels of qualities of education and employability skills of a student very easily. Whereas normally it is very difficult to catch this point. How to cluster the fundamental aspects of subject point of view with applied. One way the faculties, those who are going to deliver the subject concepts are running short of time. Most of the times we are in a position to hurry up. So normally we are not able to bridge the gap between the level of understanding and applied concepts, the adequate skills required for a student to face the examination under engineering assessment domain. So how to cluster the fundamental aspects of the subject point of view with applied relevancy? It carries 20% weightage. Then the next level, if you see, it talks about how effective to manipulate the equal importance of all the modules in the concerned subject. So we should give equal importance of all the modules topics given in the subject with a definite plan. It carries 25% weightage. Then how long will it be possible to implement core competencies in concerned subject? How long it will be possible to implement? So if there are 5 modules are there, we are interested in 3 modules, and 2 modules will be rushed as it is because of running short of time in the last minute or 11th hour. And if you look at the real implementation skill, adequate understanding of from the student point of view, normally the duration in which we are going to implement the core competency level through better understanding and implementation will be lost. We are totally away from the track for understanding level in the implementation side. So how long will it be possible to implement core competencies in a concerned level subjects are concerned? It carries 20% weightage. And how far it is illustrative or exemplary to implement summative as well as formative assessment. So how far we are exemplary to implement. So normally whenever we are introducing the problem, whether it's a descriptive or analytical subject, irrespective of the nature of the philosophical paradigm of all the engineering domain assessment for a particular subject is concerned, we need to have an exemplary or illustrative approach for all the icons that we are going to predefine it as a case study. Therefore, with simple examples, so that the real impact of employability skills and cutting knowledge practices implementation towards summative and formative assessments in engineering is possible under this category. So how far we are going to cluster the fundamental aspects of subject point of view with applied relevancy, and how effective to manipulate the equal importance with the due weightage for all the modules in concerned subject, and how long will it be possible to implement core competencies in the concerned subjects all the times up to some extent also according to the caliber of faculty as well as students as well, and how far it is exemplary or legislative to implement summative and formative assessments also. Therefore, we can have a critical success assessment questionnaire forums. Now, if you look at the basic engineering assessment features, it talks about 3 important domains: basic components, internal and external. Basic components, it includes internal continuous evaluation, external end semester evaluation, interim or surprise oral and written examinations. Now, interim is sometimes very rarely we are interim is very rare. Most of the times it appears to be we are practicing both internal and external features as continuous and end semester practices. But weightage is also slightly different because of the different levels of accreditation governing bodies and approving bodies also. But interim is cross-checked as an indirect manner without any weightage, but we have to look on the interim surprise oral as well as written examination also to support the system. Then most of the Tier 2 institutions, we are having interim with very serious follow-up. That is not applicable for Tier 1 national level importance institutions also, because because of the existence of creamy level high caliber students, it is highly impossible to make it. So as far as Tier 2 is concerned, we need to have a look on interim surprise oral as well as written exams as a basic component of engineering assessment features. Now we can give the 33.3% weightage for each component. Then if you look at the internal factors, basically the philosophical paradigms are grouped under monthly test, assignment, quiz, seminars, case study, group discussion as well as mini projects also. This is a normal version. Then as far as external aspects are concerned, we have assessment of learning under summative, assessment of learning under formative. Then external evaluation is considered as a summation of both as a value-added standard approach for enhanced learning. So all these practices are already existing, but most of the times we are not able to track on the percentage of attainment. That is what we are going to have a look on the philosophical backgrounds. So engineering assessment purpose to meet the requirements of clustered under 4 targets: classroom oriented, instructional support oriented, policy oriented, and target oriented. So under classroom oriented, we have students based, teachers based, and stakeholders based in future to attain the mission and vision of the particular institution is concerned under the quality of accreditation is concerned. Then as far as instructional support oriented is concerned, we have different icons like curriculum based, special elective based, under again different levels of attainment under the higher desk like desk of dean, desk of principal, and desk of director for implementing this strategical plan by accommodating the empowerment of faculty who is teaching the subject, at least by extending the academic freedom alone. Then counselors based. Then policy oriented. Under policy oriented, we have 3 different scenarios like superintendent for holding the responsibility, basically for administering the system. Then collegiate directorate for streamlining the responsibility. Then legislators view to remove the blocks from the minds of remove the blocks from both hands and minds of the person or the faculty who is going to deliver under legal, socio-economic factors are concerned under policy oriented. Then target oriented, core competency based, formative based, feedback oriented formulations, and rubric based assessment targets. Then predefined focus, collegiate classroom assessment for students learning turns the classroom assessment process, and it is resulted into instructional strategies which are designed to improve not only merely monitoring student learning confidence level, as well as motivating level with respect to all the levels of graduating attributes. So this particular statement talks about the well-defined, that is predefined focus on professional learning communities for engineering assessment. Now, next one is tailoring of PLC assessment in engineering, how we are going to stitch these philosophies as a dress of quality of, now the cloth is ready, we have to stitch, so that the dress will be ready in terms of quality and competency matrix for assessing the quality of student, as well as deliverable cross-check for the teaching fertility also. So effective teams engaged in reflective practices of competent assessment issues, representing the analysis of student learning influences, the instructional decision-making PLC-based engineering assessment. Effective teams engaged in reflective practices. So when we are standing in front of mirrors, normally we'll have a reflection. So that should be the case. When we are delivering, the students must be in a position to capture those impact of high impact levels of understanding in their mind through imagination or engineering skills of drawing in their mind when we are delivering, and automatically he or she as a student must be in a position to capture the next level of understanding or applying concepts of those imaginary diagrams or imaginary equations in their mind to integrate or to capture the streamlining natures of analysis in their mind within a fraction of 7 when we started delivering the systems. So this type of engineering mind and presence of mind is required to engineering skills of understanding as far as learning community is concerned to maintain the quality of education is concerned, so that there will be a proportional balance between the level of delivery in the competent level, high level of delivery, and high level of understanding the basic engineering factors in an applied manner. Then if you look at the stitching, the tailoring or making embedded with the systems of assessment, we have 4 different stages that we already seen in the very initial slides. Like it's a combination of strategic plan, focusing on learning, collaboration with results. Then characteristic, what are the characteristics embedded in PLC based assessment? Shared mission and vision and value goals and targets. So if the vision and value goals and targets are shared between the affiliating body and approving body and exercising body. Approving body, for example, you see in Indian context, the affiliating body is university, and executing body, real executing body is the department level, particular department level in terms of faculty as well as students. So that will be a shared vision through proper recognition. If proper recognition is not there in the execution level, in the last level, automatically things will be T-shaped. So there must be a shared vision, value. Somebody will be setting the policy, and somebody will be approving the policy, and somebody is going to teach, and somebody is going to evaluate. So there must be an equal understanding of all these complications of impact as well as impacts of policies in all the levels, so that there must be an attention, accountability, and responsibility for all the stages that has to be understood in a very well-defined, transparent manner, so that we are able to have a successful shared vision, value, goals, and targets for which are embedded in an engineering domain assessment. Then collaborative teams focused on learning aspects. Then collective attempt into best practices as well as reality of present scenario. Then it talks about next characteristics. It talks about action or orientation as well as experimentation. So action through delivery, orientation through exercising the strategies, and experimentation through processing the results. So action or orientation as well as experimentation for delivery and understanding under PLC. Then commitment to continuous improvement. Then results orientation along with deep insights for accuracy too. Then PLC at assessment work. Then in a professional learning community, educators create an environment or atmosphere which influences, forces mutual cooperation, emotional support, and personal growth. Mutual cooperation. The core thing of PLC is incorporated with three important strategies of mutual cooperation, emotional support, and personal growth, as they work together for achieving what they cannot accomplish alone. So what they cannot accomplish alone is possible through mutual cooperation, emotional support, and personal growth, in order to identify the gap between the adequacy level of employability skill of a student as well as the well-defined structure for delivery. So PLC assessment PLC at assessment work, it plays a very important role, and that has to be exercised through collaboration-based engineering assessment. Now let us see some of the important features of what are the collaboration-based engineering assessment. So it needs a competency matrix of alternate levels of assignment. So competency matrix of alternate levels of assignments are always listed in file, but in real-time practice, we are making compromise in this aspect. So the administrators which are looking on the administrative factors of department, institution, approving body, and curriculum designs should see that whether the particular subject allocated to a faculty is fair enough with adequate competency. If it is not so, that has to be shared at least in the domain wise, so that along with the regular workload, so that it can be done with due weightage towards the sustainable quality of education with adequate level of competency in that subject. Then rate of increase, that is possible only through the mutual cooperation and teamwork spirit. So rate of increased confidentiality for evaluating as well as the question paper setting. Rate of increased confidentiality for evaluation as well as question paper setting. When we are setting the question paper, we are so confidential, but after evaluating, we used to leak all these informations, at least through against the faculty, for the toughness of the subject. So that way we are sometimes we are failed in maintaining the confidentialities towards the engineering domain evaluation. So rate of increased confidentiality for evaluation and rate of increased confidentiality for setting the papers, both are it should be taken care with due weightage. Then maintaining the proportions for internal and external competent examiners. So this has to be done for autonomically freedom, given this particular statement is possible only for the autonomous institutions, whereas in case of centralized affiliating institutions, normally we are depending only on 100% external evaluation. So probably we need to have a look on this statement up to some extent, but whether it is whether they are internal examiners or external examiners, normally they are supposed to maintain the competency matrix levels. Obviously, we can ensure through a higher administrative desks to make sure that whether the adequate quality of a competency level of faculty who is nominated for evaluation is okay. Then technology transfer for implementing digital affairs related to collaborative perspectives, curriculum design, evaluation strategy, advanced perceptions, and descriptive view also. So technology transfer must be made through digital implementations. So that is order of the day. So that we need to incorporate. Suppose if we are not able to cope up with offline, then we need to have a look on online engineering assessment also, by giving due weightage to the assessment skills and learning skills and executing skills also. Then empower assessment. As far as faculty empowerment is concerned, empowering atmosphere for adequate competency level, accommodating philosophical view of core competencies. Then the faculty must be adequate, competent enough for implementing with the empowering aspects. Then empowering index of accommodating competency level of implementing amongst the competent personnel. So these are the empowerment aspects of the engineering domain assessment. Then at last, we are going to discuss about the engineering assessment features as a logical implementation through a definite analytical or mathematical modeling. So normally any engineering domain assessment index F is considered as a function of different scenarios, L, M, N, O, and P, where L is the linear index of engineering assessment, 25, it carries 20% weightage, and M stands for severity index or impact index of the toughness index of severity index or toughness index of engineering assessment. It carries 25% weightage. Then N stands for impacting module index of engineering assessment in the national level, 20% weightage. Then moderation index fixed during assessment as well as evaluation, it carries 20% weightage in national level for maintaining national level attainment. Then philosophical parametric index. This is only applicable for ABET in the global level accreditation process under engineering assessment, but still partially we are also practicing indirectly in the case of national accreditation process also in engineering context up to some context in different grouping, graduating contribution, graduating attribute skills to be attained under a definite as well as predefined mapping through competence strategy. So P stands for philosophical parametric index for assessment. It carries 20% weightage. So almost it is group engineering assessment features under any logical implementation is grouped under 5 different categories like linear index, severity index, impacting module index, moderation index, and the philosophical parametric index. So if we are able, if a faculty fraternity in a particular engineering domain is able to understand the impact of linear index, severity index, impacting module index, moderation index fixed during assessment, and philosophical parametric index for assessment with equal weightage, obviously it is assumed that we have already attained the level of high quality for logical implementations. So finally, I'm going to conclude the presentation with a general statement which implies that any engineering domain assessment implies the PLC mode, professional learning communities mode. It talks about high impact examining gestures, and collaboration mode normally talks about moderate impact reviewing gestures, and faculty empower mode normally it talks about less impact examining structures. So altogether, as far as any engineering domain is concerned, whether it is in the national level or international level accreditation processes, we need to have an engineering domain assessment under all the 3 PLC mode, collaboration mode, as well as faculty empowerment mode also, for taking care of the level of high impact examining structures, the level of moderate impact reviewing gestures, and the level of less impact examining gestures. Therefore, the overall assessment must be attained as far as any engineering domain is concerned. So I think I tried my level best to capture some of the important theoretical as well as practical implementation of professional learning communities over engineering domain for engineering assessment is concerned, irrespective of the level of accreditation in the national level as well as global level accreditation process. And I'm very much thankful to all the listeners as well as the participants as well as faculty as well as organizers for giving me this fruitful opportunity to share some of my views to talk something related to the engineering domain assessment. So thank you very much, and if you have any queries you can demand. Thank you.